Hey everybody, what's going on? Happy to have you here. Hello there, Brandon. Hello there, Lars. Lars, I don't know why you always say that. It confuses me. What's going on? Hey there, Jason and Silver Sun. Welcome to Nerd Nest Live. It's basically open mic, but it's a little more structured, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Basically, I think I want to do open mics more often, but I want to have a little more structure to the open mics. And so what I've decided to start doing is send you guys, or not send you, but give you all a place where you can submit stories. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Excuse me. Before I get started, I do want to say thank you to a whole bunch of people who went ahead and became members in the past week, basically, while I've been not creating any content. I took a vacation, as it were, and I really, really enjoyed it, but I missed sitting here and talking to you guys and having a conversation with everybody. So let me go ahead and thank all of those people who became members recently or re-upped their membership. That would be people like Adam, Abel, Bowser, Consino, Night Chills, Jacob, Hussein, Infinity, Sammy, Tom, Adam, Sean, Dorkington, Lloyd. Lloyd, what are you doing, man? I don't know if he knows that that's reoccurring. Zia, Ark, John, Christopher, Joe, Mike, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Deflem, Arcane, Daniel, and Justin. That is a lot. There's a lot of people who either re-upped their memberships or became new members, and I just want to say thank you to all of them. You guys are fantastic. We really do appreciate the support. It is absolutely crazy how many people are willing to support us making content about video games. Making a video game show where we talk about stuff like this. So thank you very much to everybody who supports that way. Hey there, InLead. What's going on? So Lars says it's a reference to Jason Blaha. A YouTube fitness channel is kind of an inside baseball joke among YouTube fitness fans. Okay, cool. I just don't get the joke. So because it's an inside joke, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird, but you know what? I'm not going to complain. I was always curious why you always said very informative coach. And I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's New Year's Day. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm curious how everybody's New Year was. Let me know down below. My wife and I watched a bunch of episodes of Community. My niece was reading books and my son was playing games with his friends. So we didn't watch the ball drop like we usually do. Although we haven't had cable TV in a really, really long time. And every year when we try and watch the ball drop, it's always like kind of a huge hassle finding the one place that is streaming it and being able to put it on a TV. Maybe this would have made it easier. I have not hooked this up yet. This arrived the other day. I have another one of these in that room, but we don't have this hooked up to the living room yet. I bought it knowing that it was going to take, I ordered this forever ago, and it took a really, really long time for it to get here. So the first one, and so I ordered this one, and it took a really long time to get here. And I think it's because I went with the blue one. It took a really long time, and so I figured, you know what, I'm going to order it. And in the first half of 2021, we're supposed to be able to play Stadia on this, and so I figured I would go ahead and order it. However, I have played Stadia on my Shield TV, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. Charles says, hello, Happy New Year. My family got together, made homemade pizzas, and played games. Well, that's great. Homemade pizzas. My wife makes the best homemade pizza. Actually, my wife makes the best pizza. It is better than any other pizza. It is always really good. She makes it with um, sourdough crust. It's so good. All right. Well, here's what we're gonna do. I've got a format for Nerd Nest Live. If you guys have comments and stuff that you want to absolutely make sure that I respond to, you can use the super chat function. I have 3 main topics that I want to talk about today, and if you want to make sure that your topics, like if you have an idea for a topic that you want me to talk about, then you can also submit a topic. There is a link in the description down below that will let you submit a topic or a question. It will take you straight to this Google form, and you just put in your name, like a shorthand for your topic, and then the message, and it says keep it to 90 words or less. And this is where I'm going to come up with, this is where I'm going to have ideas for open mics. And the more of these that we have, the more open mics that we're going to be able to have, or the more Nerd Nest Lives, I guess, we're going to be able to have. So if you have an idea for something that you want discussed on the show, leave a topic and use the Google form to fill that out. And if it's something that I also would like to talk about, then I'll make it part of the show. I'll talk about it right here, and we can all hang out live and have a discussion about it. Chris wants to know, does Stadia work on Apple TV yet? No, it doesn't work on there yet. I don't see why it would work on Apple TV. I think that the thing you have to remember is that the only way that we were able to get it on iOS is by using a browser, and Apple TV does not have a browser. So my guess is that's not going to happen. We're not going to get it on Apple TV. But honestly, I have Apple TV. I've got the Apple TV 4K, and we really only use that to watch Apple TV shows, like the ones from the subscription, like Mythic Quest or the morning show, or that one alternate history show. Like those are the only things that we use Apple TV for, and everything else we use our Chromecast. The kids just use like the built-in TV stuff, which is awful, but that's the one that they use, at least until I get this hooked up. This is what I use on my TV in the bedroom over there, is the Google TV, and it's great. I like the interface a lot better than Apple TV, and the remote is way better. So there you go. All right, let's get started with our first main topic today. That's basically how the Nerd Nest Live or the open mics are going to work. Is I'm going to have a few topics that have been pre-submitted ahead of time. If you see me doing this a lot, it's because I don't have a chair. My chair is broken, and the new one isn't going to arrive until tomorrow, I believe. And so right now, I'm sitting on my weight bench, my workout bench, and it's terrible sitting on a workout bench. It's a little too short. I don't like the height, and there's no back support either. So that's why I keep leaning back, because I'm expecting something to be there. Anyway, let's get started with our first main topic today. And our first main topic today comes from Ryan Hudson. This is from a YouTube comment. He said, "Sideloading is actually super easy. I highly recommend it. It works so much better than Chromecast, especially with Google TV. If you want to know how, I can leave a comment explaining how. It's extremely easy." So Ryan is basically, he's responding to a comment that I had made. I think it was on an episode of Stadia Cast. If you didn't know, you can subscribe to Stadia Cast, which is a podcast all about Google Stadia. And I said that I was going to sideload, and I decided at the last minute, I'm not sure if I want to do it. I was watching a YouTube video that it was explaining how, and they wanted me to download a program on my computer in order to send the file to the, not the Google TV, but to my Shield TV Pro. And I was like, I don't really like this idea. I'm gonna back out, and I'm not gonna do this. So I ended up not doing it. But then I read the comment, and I said, you know what? I do want to try it out. So I went and I looked for the tips on how to do it, and I found one from Jason Howell. Now, if you don't know who Jason Howell is, Jason Howell works over at This Week in Tech, the big tech podcast conglomerate with Leo Laporte, and he is on the show like This Week in Android, or no, All About Android, as well as a whole bunch of other shows over on the Twit network. And I very much trust Jason. So he was showing the step-by-step process of how to go about sideloading Stadia onto an Android TV. And for those of you that don't know, a Shield TV is an Android TV. So I was like, all right, I'm going to follow the steps that Jason Howell is telling me. And I went step by step through the process. And at the end of the day, boom, Stadia was installed on my Shield TV. Now, why was I interested in doing this? Well, the Shield TV Pro, which is a really, really cool piece of hardware, has this built-in AI upscaling where it can take a lower resolution signal and kind of use AI to clean up what it is that you're looking at on your TV screen. So it will take something that looks a little blurry and maybe washed out a little bit, and it just makes it super, super crisp. And I was watching Lloyd. He was streaming Cyberpunk 2077 over on GeForce Now, and he brought up the, here, I'll grab the remote. He brought up his remote, and it's got like this little the hamburger icon on the top right up here. You hit that button, and it uses it, he can put it in demo mode where you can see on one side of the screen it's super crisp, and on the other side it's kind of blurry. And I was really, really impressed by that, and I wanted to see how it worked for Stadia. Spoilers, it works great. It works really, really fantastic. And so I thought, this is really amazing. The only drawback right now to sideloading Stadia onto my Shield TV Pro is that you can't use the Stadia controller. I suppose you could probably use the Stadia controller plugged in. I haven't tried that. I'm not interested in not using the Stadia controller. The Stadia controller has kind of become my go-to. It's my favorite controller, I think. For a long time, my favorite controller was the Steam controller, and then the Switch Pro controller came out, and I was like, that thing is amazing. I love it. But the more that I use Stadia, the more I realize that that is my favorite controller. I've got 3 of them back here. I've got my Founders Edition, and then I've got a white one. Actually, we have multiple white ones here in the house. And then I have my Wasabi controller that my mom got me for Christmas. Thanks, Mom. So I want to be able to use those controllers, and right now you can't pair those controllers when you're using when you're sideloading. You have to use some other controller. So I was using my PlayStation DualShock 4, the PS4 controller, paired to my Shield TV Pro, and it's fine, but it's not as good as the Stadia controller. And so I think, even though you're 100% right that it's not very difficult in order to sideload onto Android TV, I think I'm still going to wait. I'm probably not going to use that way. And so when it becomes available for everybody to just hit a button and Stadia is on our Chromecast with Google TV, that is going to be a very interesting time, because then I will be able to get rid of all of my Chromecast Ultras that I have throughout my house and just have this, because this thing is really awesome. I love the remote. I love the interface. And right now, the only reason that I have my Chromecast Ultra hooked up to my TV is for Stadia. And that's one of the cool things about Stadia is eventually what will happen is you can get those upgrades over time instead of waiting for the next iteration to come out. So once this gets updated to support Stadia, the Chromecast with Google TV, I'm going to have a better experience, and I'm looking forward to that. So thank you very much for the comment, and let me know. I guess, well, those are my thoughts on it. Here's the real question. What do you all think about Chromecast with Google TV or sideloading onto Android TV with Google Stadia? Leave a comment in the comment section down below and let me know what you think. Have you done it? Do you recommend that people do it? And did I do something wrong? And maybe I can, in fact, use my Stadia controllers with that. Leave a comment down below. All right, let's move on. Chromebook Gaming says, Bill, you can totally use the Stadia controller. Just fire up a game without any actually controller attached, and it'll pop up the screen with a key code for the Stadia controller. I tried that, but it didn't work. Oh, you have to launch the game first. I will have to try that out, Chromebook Gaming. Thank you very much. Lars Rye Jemson says, do you think the reason for Stadia, let me hit this button right here. Do you think the reason for Stadia not yet being officially supported on Google TV is that Google doesn't want the enormous influx of users? No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. While this is really cool, I would say that most people probably don't have these. It's definitely something that's going to be incredibly popular eventually, but right now, this is not super, like, there aren't millions and millions of people out there with the Google TV yet. That's I feel like you're kind of being in a bubble at that point if you're thinking that everybody is doing the same thing that we're doing. Like, we're the early adopters, especially because people aren't going into stores and going shopping a whole bunch, so they're not seeing these things sitting on the shelves and buying them. So that's something else to keep in mind. Let's see. Jim Adams says, so funny, I was just having this conversation with someone the other day. I never thought the Xbox controller would be dethroned, but the Stadia controller is just so comfortable in my hands. Yes, I do agree with that. Jason Brown says, do you ever rest the Stadia controller on your lap to do something else? I was playing Sniper Elite the other night, resting it on my lap. The triggers are so easily pressed. Alerted everyone. Oh, I understand what you're saying. No, I tend to play Stadia. I don't tend to sit stuff on my lap. If I'm playing in this room, I set it on my desk. If I'm playing downstairs on the in the living room, I tend to set it on the not my lap, but the arm of the recliner that I'm sitting in. Chromebook Gaming says, I've used the Stadia controller on my Google TV constantly. All you have to do is start a game with the remote and without any controller attached. I'm going to try that. Lack of sound / party chat options kills it. Better to just wait for the official one. Ash to ash, ashes to ashes. That's a good point. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. That all of that stuff is part of the app, and they might not have that stuff set up yet. Okay. Eli Mohammed says, do you think Stadia will be an app on a TV? I assume you mean like on like a smart TV? I think eventually, yeah. That will happen eventually. Yeah, I think that's going to happen eventually, yes. All right. And Eli Mohammed, please avoid using all caps, okay? All right, let's go ahead and move on to our second main topic for today. And our second main topic for today comes from Matt, Dr. Positive Snell. He says, I'm very disappointed, but I can't use the mouse and keyboard, which is supported by the iPad Pro, but not Stadia, as I can't use another controller as I have a disability. That's short-sighted by Stadia, leaving some players out who can only use a mouse and keyboard. So I guess Stadia is not for me, as no mouse and keyboard support is nuts, as iPad and iOS now support mouse and keyboard. Stadia and all gaming cloud services should have sorted out mouse and keyboard support before launch as to not leave out players who can't use controllers. G this 21st century, and still they forget to offer support to all players. Well, thank you very much for the topic, Dr. Snell. Um, I do have to agree. That was one of the most disappointing things. And listen, I don't have a disability when it comes to mouse and keyboard or anything like that. However, I'm kind of the opposite direction. I tend to prefer to play only on controller. I went for a run with my daughter a few years ago, and I tripped and I fell and I broke my elbow. And now I can't turn like my this hand I can make nice and flat. This hand does not go flat, and it doesn't go that way either. Like if I want to flip my hand around on my right hand side, I can. On my left hand side, that's as far as it goes. And so using WASD, using the keyboard to play video games is actually quite painful. So I do understand what you mean, although I'm sure not to the extent that you have to deal with it. So I very much prefer to use a controller. However, when iOS support first came officially to Safari on iOS for Stadia, I was very, very excited. Mostly because I was like, oh man, that means that I can play Baldur's Gate 3 wherever I want. And I still can. I can still play Baldur's Gate 3 sitting at the kitchen table or the living room if I want, but I have to use a controller because it doesn't support mouse and keyboard. Now iOS does support mouse and keyboard. In fact, I use a mouse and keyboard on iOS all of the time. But now what I was hoping is that it would just recognize it as mouse and keyboard, but basically, and I don't know if this is the fault of Stadia. I don't know if fault is really the word. I don't know if this is something that is Stadia's responsibility or if it's an overall iOS thing. You have to remember that what's being sent to you when you are playing these games is essentially just a video of you playing, which is the craziest thing in the world. But you're just seeing a video. And the way that iOS interprets a video is that it's not really an interactable thing. Now, I don't know if this is something that can be fixed by Apple, in which case that's never going to happen, or if this is something that can be fixed by Stadia. But because we're essentially playing a video, then mouse and keyboard support does not work. So I sat down to test out Baldur's Gate 3 on my iPad, and if I want to play with a controller, I can, but if I want to play with a keyboard and mouse, I'm out of luck. And that's just really, really too bad, because that is a game where, if you ask me, the absolute best experience is playing with a mouse and keyboard. Now, it's a turn-based game, and you don't really have to have your hand on the keyboard too much when you're playing. So, me having my injury on my left elbow, it's not really that big a deal when it comes to playing a game like Baldur's Gate 3 on my iPad. But I have no choice but to use the controller if I want to play Baldur's Gate 3 on my iPad. I do not like playing Baldur's Gate 3 with a controller. So I agree. I would really, really like to see better mouse and keyboard support on iOS, but I don't know if that is something that Stadia can fix, or if it's something that Apple can fix. If it's something that Stadia can fix, then I think eventually we'll get that fixed. I think eventually that kind of thing will be addressed. But if it's something that Apple has to fix, they have absolutely zero motivation to do so. They don't get anything from you using their device to play Stadia. They don't get any of the sale If you bought the game on your computer and then you're playing it on iOS, they don't get any of that money. Sure, they do make money on the hardware, but they also want to make money on the other end too. You know, it's kind of a long tail thing. They have that big revenue when you first buy that hardware, but then there's the long tail revenue that comes from all of their the purchases that happen on the App Store or the services that you subscribe to, like iCloud or Apple TV Plus or Apple Fitness, which I actually kind of want to check out. But they don't get anything from you using Stadia on there. So they're not really motivated in order to address that particular topic. So here's my question to all of you, and you can leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can let me know, are you interested in mouse and keyboard support on iOS, or would you just prefer to only use controller? And is this something that is a deal breaker for you with Stadia, or a deal breaker for you with Apple? Let me know in the comment section down below. All right, let's see what chat was saying. Let's see. Eric Miller says, the reason you can't use a mouse with iPad is based on the way iOS handles pointer control. It isn't programmed in the exact same way as a traditional laptop. I don't know that that's necessarily true. When you say pointer control, I think you're talking about the weird circle that they have where it snaps to stuff. I think that you can get it to interpret. Like, I think that the real reason is because it's not viewing it as something that is interactable. You know what I mean? Hover commands, mouse tracking, right click, left click, don't work the same on an iPad as a computer. I don't know if that's necessarily... I mean, you're not wrong that they don't work the same way, but I don't know if that's really a stumbling block for Stadia. I think the real stumbling block is that it's just a video. It doesn't understand what we're looking at there. The reason it doesn't work on iOS is that Apple blocks the web Bluetooth API in Safari. There is an API for it, but Apple does not allow it for progressive web apps. Apple has specifically designed the mouse support to mimic finger usage, not a mouse. In this case, it's not because it's a video. If the video streaming technology were at fault, touch controls wouldn't work. The reason I believe it's OS is because of how the iPad handles Sidecar. Even when you use a remote desktop features, the trackpad won't work as your mouse. I guess I'm just having trouble understanding what you mean. Because when I use my mouse on iOS, it works. Like, I click on stuff, I can right click on stuff, all of that stuff works. But when I go to use it on Stadia, Stadia doesn't know what to do with it. And I don't know if that's something that Stadia can fix or if that's something that Apple can fix. Granite T Rock says, mouse and keyboard support is not a deal breaker, but player choice is always a bonus. I agree. Well, I don't like it as a bonus. I think it should always be something that that people are aspiring to have. Geek to Sneak, that's a funny name, says, most definitely mouse and keyboard support needs to be integrated for iOS. Yograin says, when you hook up the keyboard with trackpad on an iPad, you get a normal mouse pointer thingy, right? It's not a normal one. It's a circle instead, but it works the same way. A PWA runs in the browser, Safari, so they can't use the native APIs in iOS, only browser APIs. And Apple blocks Bluetooth, but this... Apple blocks Bluetooth. So, okay, so what you're saying, Lars, is that when I'm using my Bluetooth mouse here on iOS, everything works fine, except for the web app can't take advantage of Bluetooth. Is that what you're saying? Yes, I think Yograin is saying the thing that I'm trying to say right now. Um, because iOS Safari misses the mouse capture APIs. Okay, interesting. So that seems like not something that is in Stadia's control, unfortunately. I think that that's something from Apple. Well, Yograin, what he's saying is that Bluetooth, like you're using Bluetooth, right? And the API is like Safari will interact with it, but the web app won't take that Bluetooth input. Listen, man, you can't use all of these acronyms because most people don't understand what they mean. I understand what an API is. I have no idea what a PWA is and the difference between a native API and other. Like, I'm not a programmer, so most of that stuff is just right over my head. You got to dumb it down for me a little bit, man. All right. Let's do our third main topic. I think unable to add a stream marker. I think I have to wait a little bit. Progressive web app. Oh, when I add a website to the home screen. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Thank you. See, you gotta define stuff. All right, let's talk about our third main topic for today. And our third main topic today comes to us from Jason Brown. He says, now that Christmas is over, I'm considering getting a decent resolution tablet to play Stadia around the house. Do we have a go-to tablet yet? And is there a good add-on controller that can clip on to a tablet? Well, thank you very much for the question, Jason. Okay, well, I think that most people. Okay, I don't want to say most people. I think that there are many people that will agree with me that unfortunately, Android does not have very many good tablets. And I know that there's people watching live right now. And I know that there's going to be people who are watching after the fact. And this, like me making that statement, is going to tick some people off. I'm okay with that. I'm used to people being mad at me. It doesn't bother me. But I don't think Android makes perfectly fine phones. Their tablets just are not as good. And I don't really understand why. I feel like it's because Apple is so much more restrictive with how their experience is allowed to be. If you want to make, I'm not going to get into. I was about to, but I'm not going to get into the differences between them. But for me, I like the best Android tablet that I ever had was a Nexus 7, which was a long time ago. Is a little 7-inch tablet. It was really, really great. But iPads are just, in my opinion, far superior tablets. I think that Android and iPhone, when it comes to phones, they're kind of six in one, half a dozen in the other. They're both really good. They both have their pluses and minuses, and at the end of the day, you can really have a good experience with either one. But when it comes to tablets, in my opinion, iPads are the best tablets. So your question is, do we have a tablet that you said a high resolution tablet too. I don't think that resolution is super important when it comes to a tablet either, because generally it's a smaller screen, and so you don't need to have a super high resolution. I think you're fine with anything that's basically 1080p. I know that iOS has a weird resolution for the iPad. It's not 4K. It's lower than 4K. It doesn't matter because that thing looks awesome. I've got the 12.9 inch iPad Pro right here. This is my main tablet. Honestly, this is my main computer, and I use this thing all the time. This is my main tablet, and it's awesome. It's my only tablet. It's my main computer. It's really really good. The screen looks absolutely gorgeous. It's got a really high refreshing frame rate, so 120 hertz frame rate. This thing is fantastic. The 120 hertz doesn't do anything for you on Stadia because Stadia is limited to 60 frames per second. The resolution when I play on my iPad is obviously it's going to be 1080p because it can't go higher because this is not a 4K screen. And it looks great. So I don't think resolution is really the thing that you want to look for when it comes to a good experience for playing Stadia on a tablet. The thing that I think you want to look for when playing Stadia on a tablet is three things. Battery life. How long is the battery life on your tablet? Portability. How light is the tablet? You want it to be extremely light. And the last thing is, what else are you going to use it for? So once you've answered those three questions, then you can start deciding which tablet you are going to go with. For me, it's always going to be iOS because I don't foresee them making an Android tablet that is going to be better than my iPad is. I just absolutely love this machine. I use this for a lot of different stuff, though. I use it for, right now, during the pandemic, as a teacher, I'm making tons of videos for my students. And what I do is I set up my phone as my camera, and I record my screen, and this is my chalkboard, and I am making videos, and then I use AirDrop to take the video from my phone and put it onto my tablet, and then I got the video from my tablet, the video from my phone, and I use Luma Touch to edit them together so that my students can see my face while I'm teaching them what is happening on my chalkboard, basically. And like I use that all the time. So I'm doing video editing, I'm doing image editing, I'm doing recording stuff. All of that stuff is happening on my tablet. So I have to have stuff that I want to have a big screen because that makes video editing better. If you're not doing all of that stuff, then I would say get a smaller tablet, especially because you mentioned in your question something along the lines of having a controller that is going to hold onto the tablet. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but that's going to be a horrible, horrible experience. Tablets are heavy. I mean, compared to other stuff, they're not super heavy, but this is a pretty hefty device when you are not for its size, but can you imagine having this balanced above your controller? It's gonna pull your hands down. So no, I don't think that that's gonna work. Now, can you get an old like Nexus 7? Possibly. I don't know what resolution that is. It would be really, really light. It would be small, but at that point, just spend the money on having a bigger phone, and then you have a bigger phone to use with Stadia as well. So here's my recommendations. If you're going to be doing video editing on your iPad, if you're going to be doing any kind of like drawing or art on your iPad, you want to get the biggest possible tablet you can get. That's my number one recommendation there. If you're not going to be doing stuff like that, then you have to decide how big do you want it to be. Like the 11-inch iPad is a pretty decent size, and if I didn't do drawing and stuff like that on my iPad, if I didn't do video editing, then that's the direction I would go. But then you have like the iPad mini, which is like this tiny little thing. It's so small. And honestly, I very much am looking forward to when they bring out an iPad mini that does not have the home button, that is the all screen style like the iPad Pro is, or the new iPad Air. I think that would be a very, very compelling device to have as well because it's so small. So yeah, you really have to decide what are you going to use this for other than just Stadia. And once you've made that decision, then you can decide what you're going to use it for. Buying a tablet just for Stadia, I don't know that I would. I mean, as much as I would, if I were going to buy a device just for Stadia, I would buy a Chromebook because it's going to be really cheap. It's going to be really light. It comes with, like, because it's a laptop instead of a tablet, you can just open it up like a laptop and it just sits there. Like, this does not just sit there. Like, I can't set this down on the table and have it vertical so that I can see it, not without the keyboard or some other kind of stand. So honestly, I think the Chromebook is really the device you want to go with if it's solely for Stadia. For me, the iPad Pro 12.9, that's the way to go because I use it for a million other things. But hey, guess what? There's a lot of other people that are going to see this and maybe they're going to have a better idea for you. So if you use a tablet for Stadia, leave a comment down below and tell everybody which tablet that you use and why. And maybe that will help out our questionnaire, the person asking the question. I don't know what else to call that person. Anyway, thank you very much for the question. I think it's a good idea. All right, let's see what chat has to say about this. Trevs says the Nexus 7 is the Nexus 7 still around? Like, can you still buy those? I love that thing. Stadia Punk says I just got a Samsung Tab. It's called a Samsung Tab A? Is that what it's called? For the kids, and Stadia runs great on it. It's also pretty cheap. Wrote about Chromebook tablets. Well, I mentioned Chromebooks. Let's see. Yograin says, I think there's two reasons. One, iOS has much better SDK to adapt apps for tables, and Apple makes great first-party tablet apps like GarageBand. I think the real reason is because Apple is so restrictive with what they'll, with their rules for what they'll allow you to do on iOS, and so they're like, no, you can't. You have to have a UI that works. I mean, they'll let you put an iPhone app on your iPad, but you have to remember, like, there's a billion different resolutions and screen size dimensions on Android, and they don't have to worry about that quite so much with iOS because there's only so many sizes. So it makes it a lot easier for developers to make that a really good experience. Whereas, you get one tablet on Android that's like a super widescreen one and another one that is like a super square one. And the developers don't know what device you're going to have. And so they kind of struggle with getting the UI to look as good as it could. Lars Wright Jepson says, Samsung has a 4K OLED tablet, better display than the iPad Pro. I don't think that a higher resolution makes it a better display. I take issue with that because that's just going to run the battery down. And when you're looking at something this size, the more important number is the pixels per inch. And then once you get to a certain level, it doesn't really matter anymore. Although you do bring up a good point. Mouse and keyboard work with that. That's good. I haven't used the Galaxy Tab series tablets. James Webb, sorry. Big advantage to using streaming versus on device playing is battery life. That's a good point. I never really thought about that. Chris says, I own a Surface Pro tablet. It doubles as a Stadia device, works like a charm. The built-in stand does wonders. Oh my God, that built-in stand on the Surface Pro. We bought when my daughter went to college back in 2016. Right before she graduated, we got her a Surface. I don't remember which one. It was expensive. We got her a Surface, and I love the hinge on the back of the Surface. Like, so you hold the Surface and like the bottom half of it basically flips out, the whole part, and it makes like a little kickstand, and it's amazing. And I wish that iPad would do that. I wish that the Nintendo Switch would do that. I think that would be really, really great. Let's see. Chromeback would leave me open to WASD for first-person shooters. There you go, Jason Brown. I love the new Pro games. I haven't even claimed them yet. I'll claim them later today. You can get refurbished Nexus 7s. They have the same resolution as a Lenovo Duet 1920 by 1200. That's a weird resolution. I remember they're really wide. Really? 1920 by 1200? That can't be the Nexus 7 that I had, because that was forever ago. James Webb. The walled garden nature of iOS and iPadOS is both a blessing and a curse. It is. It is a blessing and a curse. It means that you have a really, really good experience as long as Apple's okay with it. If Apple did that kickstand, they wouldn't sell their folios as much. I don't think that's necessarily... Well, okay. So they have a couple... Look, the difference with this folio right here is that this one has a keyboard. Okay? So they would still sell these things. This is great, by the way. They would still sell those. What they wouldn't sell are those smart covers. And I don't even know that they sell those anymore. I think they probably do. They must. 1900 by 1200 is 19 by 10. Yeah, I understand that, Yograin, but here's the thing about that resolution. It can't be the same Nexus 7 that I was talking about, because that was years ago. I'm thinking like 5 years ago. Like, it was the first 16 by 10. Nexus 7 release date. Yeah, 2013. That's the one that I was talking about. This is a really, really long time ago right here. There's no way that has a resolution that high. It does. It absolutely does. I was wrong. That surprises me that it has a resolution that high. On a screen that small, it's kind of unnecessary. Let me bring up the music again. So that's it for our main topics today. Now we can just have a conversation about what you guys want to talk about. We just put on some music. All right, there we go. When Apple finally makes the rumored car, you'll only be able to use Apple wheels, and non-Apple shop will be allowed to repair. You know, I saw a story the other day. BMW wanted you to have to subscribe to heated seats. Oh my God. I gotta adjust this chair. Oh, that's a little bit better. Yeah, they wanted you to subscribe to heated seats, and if you didn't have your subscription... Dante, Valkyria Chronicles 4 is really awesome, but has way too much unnecessary story. I 100% agree with you. The gameplay itself is really awesome, but it's very, very frustrating to have to wade through a bunch of, I don't know, nonsensical story beats that I'm not really interested in, but I skip a lot of that stuff. Thanks for reminding me not to get a BMW. Well, it was never an option for me. Well, OnStar, I understand. No, no. Okay, so look, OnStar is a service where you are subscribed to that service, and that service, like, there's things that have to be there for that service. You have to subscribe to that. Heated seats are not a service. That's a device. You shouldn't have to subscribe to a device. I can understand subscribing to OnStar or SiriusXM Radio because there are continued costs with supporting that. Once I buy heated seats, there is no continued cost that goes along with that. Stadia Punk says, what new pro game should we try out as soon as possible? You know, I haven't even claimed any of the pro games. You're going to load it up right now? I don't even remember what they are. So we've got F1 2020, Hotline Miami, El Hijo, and Ari and the Secret of Seasons. And I'm going to claim them all right now. There we go. What if you don't pay for the heated seats other than the subscription? So the car is cheaper? Eli Mohammed, what's my favorite video game? Breath of the Wild is my favorite video game. I just finished playing Hyrule Warriors. Finished. I finished the story for Hyrule Warriors. It took me about 30 hours. That game is very, very good. I still have tons and tons to do in it, but it's been getting me thinking about Breath of the Wild. And like, I even went down like a YouTube rabbit hole of watching, I watched like the Breath of the Wild trailer. And then I watched the, like a bunch of YouTube people reacting to the Breath of the Wild trailer. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. And then I started watching like the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer and people reacting to that. And then I ended up watching like people reacting to the Nintendo Switch announcement that happened in January. I think it was January of 2017. And it was really weird seeing all of these things that people were saying, and you know, some of it being true and some of it being way wrong. I'm not looking forward to in the future when people look at all of the content that I put out and they're like, oh man, he was wrong about this, he was wrong about that, he was wrong about that. K0 English only here, pal. If I don't understand what you're saying, I'm going to assume that it's naughty and I'm going to remove it. Happy New Year, Shemansky. I hope Android Auto and app and CarPlay isn't locked behind a subscription. I don't think that they are. I think you can use them. Bluebin, do I like Watch Dogs Legion? I haven't played it. My co-host Lloyd, he has played it. He played it a whole bunch. He really likes it, I think. And I think he's even done some streams of it, too. Eli Mohammed, should I get Stadia Pro, yes or no? I don't see why not. It's $10 a month, and you get more than $10 a month worth of games. I think that Stadia Pro is kind of a no-brainer. I personally, I wish that Google would separate the 4K from the Stadia Pro, and just have the games all be 4K. Blue Bin, can you stream Outcasters? I can, but I'm not going to right now. Oh, Dylan Tortosa. This is a really good question. What horror games would you like to see on the platform? Alien Isolation. I adore Alien Isolation. That game is absolutely amazing, and if you haven't played it, you should. What horror games would you like to see on the platform? Let me know in the chat section. Oh my god, I can't wait till my new chair gets here. I'm so uncomfortable. Do you do Arduino and TIC or just video games? I'm not sure what you mean by that, man. Shemansky, yesterday I managed to buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla for 40 euros. I don't know what that is. That like 40 bucks? Like, is that equivalent? I think euros and dollars are pretty equivalent. In which case, that seems like a pretty good deal. Wonder what games are on sale right now. I know that they were having some. Oh yeah, they have a huge sale going on right now. So I'm gonna go to the store. On sale. Let's look. Yeah, see, I purchased it, so I don't, or purchased. I got it as a review copy, so I don't know. Hold on. There we go. I don't know how much it costs right now. I will say this: Borderlands 3 is fantastic. You should get it. If you don't already have it, you should get it. Destiny 2 is really good. I keep looking at this, and I don't need it because I've already finished the game. But I want to get Doom 2016 on Stadia, just as like a check it off on the list. Some really good sales right now. Look at that. Immortals Phoenix Rising is on sale. I don't know how much for. Look at all these games on sale, man. Oh, wait. What do we got here? Elder Scrolls Online. There's the Greymoor is 20. I think that there's a even cheaper version. Standard edition. Yeah, I think this is like $8. Which is just crazy. Watch Dogs Legion is only 30 right now. Really good sales are going on. CSTA, I think that's a great idea. Georgia Boy says, would you like to see a Battlefield game come to Stadia? I mean, not for me, because I don't really care about that. But there's a lot of people who really want those kind of games. So I fully support them bringing Battlefield style games to Stadia. And I think that will happen eventually. Doom 64 is surprisingly good. Doom 64 is a great game. I ran into a problem where I'm like stuck in this room. And I cannot figure out the puzzle part. The enemies are all dead, and I can't figure out the puzzle part of this room, and I just kind of got stuck, and I never looked it up. Happy New Year, Ruben. One big difference between games in EU and USD is USD is plus tax, and the EU dollars or euros, or generally includes tax. I don't know. I don't understand why we don't just include tax in the price. Honestly, I would like EA to bring Star Wars Battlefront 2 to Stadia as well. That's a really fun game. See you later, Alan. Thanks for hanging out. Smash Block. Glad to see your open mics are back. Love listening while I play a game. Listen, if you want to have these more often, there is a link in the description down below where people can submit their ideas for topics. I often worry about, not worry, I'm often hesitant to do an open mic because I'm like, what am I going to talk about for a couple of hours? If people leave me topics, then I'm able to do that, and that's where today's topics came from. So when I bring this up on screen, that's because people had sent in topics for me to talk about. And if I have lots of these topics, then I am much more likely to do an open mic because I have things to talk about. And then, you know, the second half is just us chatting about whatever you guys want. UFOs, huh? I remember I used to have to drive, I don't know, hour and 45 minutes to get to college. My wife had a job south of where we live now, and I was going to college an hour and 45 minutes north of where we live now. And I was driving on that road every day. And on certain nights, you could see, like, there was a I think it was like a cell phone tower or something, and it had lights on the top of it. And on certain nights, you could see that from really far away. Like if it was a really clear night, I'd be driving back and I'd be seeing it in my rearview mirror. And I'm like, what is that red light? What is that red light? It's just a cell phone tower. It wasn't aliens. K0, what are my PC specifications? Type ! gear and you'll see all of that stuff. MK Gaming, I came from Italy at a young age where listed price is what you pay. But it's always baffled me that you always have to add taxes on top of listed prices after the fact. It's a weird concept. It is a stupid concept, is what I would say. All it does is confuse people. Georgia Boy, do you ever play any MMOs on your PC? I did for years. I played World of Warcraft almost exclusively for 7 years. I've played... Hang on. This is the map of Britannia from Ultima Online. I played this game a lot when it first came out. I gotta skip this song. That song was a little annoying. I played this game a bunch when it came out. I still remember, this is Trinsic right here. This is the town that I was, like, our base was out of. And my friends and I, we owned like a shop right outside of Trinsic, and so people would come, like it was like the first house outside of Trinsic, and they would buy like the bows and stuff that my friend would make. He would spend all night like out getting materials and then crafting bows and stuff, and he was a grandmaster boyer. And I also played Final Fantasy 14. I played Final Fantasy 11. I played EverQuest. I've played Anarchy Online, Guild Wars 2, Guild Wars 1. I've played lots of MMOs. MMOs are like my favorite kind of game. Trev says each state has its own sales tax. I understand that. Star Wars Galaxies. I played tons of Star Wars Galaxies. When Stadia first came out, I thought about Square Enix straight away to sponsor them porting Final Fantasy 14 someday. I would love to see Final Fantasy 14. K0, you are timed out. And if you say anything else that I think is stupid or asinine, I'll just ban you and you'll never be allowed back. Have I played RuneScape? No, I never played RuneScape. I was never really interested in that game. I think when RuneScape came out, I was already playing EverQuest or something. Eli, what do I think of Ubisoft Plus, and have I tried it? Well, I haven't. I don't have Ubisoft Plus. I think it's great if that's what you want. Most Ubisoft games, I think I'm kind of lukewarm on. So it's not really something that I'm particularly interested in. Now you just play Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft and ESO. Yeah, ESO is my most played game this year. That's the game that I put the most time into this year. Trev says, my issue with Ubisoft Plus is it isn't included in family sharing. Well, I can see that. I mean, $15 a month and then your entire family gets access to all those games. It's kind of crazy. Did I try Into the Breach? I haven't. And I don't have any good reason because it's definitely the type of game that I would be interested in, you know? It's like it's my kind of game. Oh, I can't. There we go. Hey there, Katie. But with 4 people to play a game at $60 a month, it's more cost effective to just buy and share. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Oh yeah, I played a bunch of Star Wars: The Old Republic. I played a bounty hunter, and I was a tank. I don't remember what the spec was called, but it was a tank bounty hunter, and I loved playing hutball. So like you would play hutball, and the bounty hunters, they had an ability where you could, I bound it to my scroll up on my mouse, and my character would use the jetpack and jump forward to intercept people, and then I would have another one where I would do scroll down on my mouse, and it would grapple them and pull them back to me. My thoughts on the original 3 Roller Coaster Tycoon games. I've never been interested in the Roller Coaster Tycoon games ever. Georgia boy, I'm always a DPS in all MMO. I tend to go healer, is generally what I do, and then tank. DPS is the least likely thing for me to do. Healer or tank is what I prefer. I like healing because you can carry people. You can't really carry people with DPS. You can You can kill things faster, but having higher DPS won't help people make it through difficult mechanics. You know what I mean? And absolutely, the Q times as DPS is awful. Richard Rodriguez, when is Stadia, Google Game Studios, going to create their own exclusive first-person shooter? I'm sure that they already have something like that in the works. I would expect it next year or the year after. What do I think of the Stadia subreddit? I don't know, it's fine, I guess. I don't really go there very much. I used to go there more. But a lot of times it's just like people showing a picture of them playing Stadia, or somebody being grumpy about, I don't know. There's usually most of the people that are on that subreddit are cool and very, very nice. But most of the topics are very fluffy. And I'm just like, it's not a very interesting discussion. You just love DPS, Georgia boy. I don't like DPS because, well, DPS is always about it's a well, okay, that's not true. Okay, in most MMOs, not all MMOs, but in most MMOs, being really good at DPS means really knowing your rotation, right? And being a good healer or being a good tank is really more about being reactive to things. So you're reacting to this happens, I need to do this. This happens, I need to do that. And I feel like DPS gets really boring to me because it's like, all right, I got a proc, I'm gonna hit a button. Whereas tank and healer, I'm not gonna say that it's more complicated, but there's more ways that you can react to a situation. I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough. PC or PS5 and why? Well, I guess it depends on who you are. If you just want things to just work, then I would say PS5. Obviously, PC can be a lot more powerful than a PS5, but it's also way more expensive. I don't have either. Well, I don't have either. I have a PC, obviously, but it's not for gaming. It's for streaming and stuff. What would be one game you would like to see on Stadia that's either on PC or PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch? I mean, if we're just saying, like pie in the sky, whether it would happen or not, Breath of the Wild 2. I would love to have that on Stadia rather than have it on Switch, or in addition to being on Switch. But that's never going to happen. Something that's more likely, Diablo 4. Would love Diablo 4 to be on Nintendo or on Stadia. Yeah, I didn't say that it was negative. I said it's just very fluffy. Like it's a lot of, hey, I have this new. It's like going to the Apple Watch subreddit. Like I subscribed to the Apple Watch subreddit because I was like, oh, I wonder what apps I can find, and I've never unsubscribed to it. But as I scroll through Reddit, it's just a bunch of people with pictures of their watch, and I'm like, okay, it's not really compelling content. And that's what the Stadia subreddit feels like. And it's not because it's bad. It's just it's not very compelling. James Adams, I'm an amputee, and iOS has game controller remap on the operating system. It's my favorite way to play. Oh, nice. Would Planet Coaster be a good fit for Stadia? I don't see why not. I wouldn't want to play it because I don't care about that stuff. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be on Stadia. Just so you guys know, we're getting about 15 minutes left in the show, and then I'm going to call it. Unless there's a really good conversation going on. Skipping that song, too. What is this album? I don't know that I like this album. Let's find something new. There we go. That's a little more relaxing. Those other songs were kind of crazy. But here's a question for you guys. What's one game that you would like to see on Stadia that's on PC or PlayStation or Xbox or Switch? Like, what game would you guys want to come to Google Stadia? When is the result for the game poll going to be released? So, SK Gamer, that was not a poll. That was nominations. So, our Mega Mod, Kodiak Moonwolf, he's going to turn that into a thing where people can now vote. And we're just waiting for him to do that. I can't do it because I don't have access to the poll. Katie says, I would love to see CSGO and World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, definitely. CSGO, I don't care. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't care. But World of Warcraft, I would absolutely... That should be a cloud game. You always have to be online to play it anyway. So, yes, World of Warcraft. And, of course, like I said, Diablo 4. Yogrind says, No Man's Sky. I never played it. The New Horizon. I don't know anything about that. Lee Clark says, I would like to see more kids games that I can play with my young kids. Yeah, there's most of the games on Stadia are very mature. I will say Guilt, I think, is okay for kids. Well, it depends on their age. It can be spooky, but it's not gross or anything. I would also recommend Cake Bash. And I haven't played it yet, but El Hijo looks like it's pretty safe for kids. Do you think streaming to YouTube from Stadia and Chromecast Ultra is coming anytime soon? Suave, you can already do that. Start the game on your Chromecast Ultra and then open Stadia in a browser and start your live stream. Daniel Brennan says, is this live? No, it's not live. How's that for breaking your brain? SK Gamer says Hollow Knight. Yo Grain says, oh, you should definitely check out No Man's Sky when you have some time. When I have some time. I absolutely will. It has excellent VR support. I don't have any VR stuff. I don't have a VR helmet. My son wants to get an Oculus Quest. He's trying to save his money up for that, but it's like $300. Your 4-year-old loves that monster truck game. That's awesome. I loved playing Bigfoot on the NES when I was a kid. And watching monster truck stuff when I was a kid as well. Oh, Katie, that's a good one. All of the Batman games, all those WB Batman games, yes, I would love to see those on Stadia. The Arkham games, I checked to see if they were on GeForce Now, and they're not, unfortunately. That's my biggest problem with GeForce Now, is the fact that it's so frustrating. Like, You're supposed to be able to play all these games, but then the publishers were like, no, you can't play these games. So, like, I have those Batman games on Steam. I have some of those Batman games on the Epic Games Store as well, and I can't play any of them on GeForce Now. K0, I don't really understand the question. Oh, Spitlings is great, Memento Ludi. I would love to see open world space games like EVE Online. But that, so like an MMO. Yeah, I can see why people would want that. I'm not interested in playing EVE Online at all. I don't think the pro games are always worth the money. What's your opinion? I mean, every month there's at least one game that I'm interested in playing on Stadia Pro, and it's only $10 a month. I think it's a deal. But I also, for complete full transparency, I have Stadia Pro, like, I have that through Google. Like, they just to be completely transparent, I would pay for it, but I don't have to pay for Stadia Pro. Just like I don't have to pay for GeForce Now. I have GeForce Now Founders. NVIDIA gave that to us. But I would pay for Stadia Pro even if they weren't giving it to me for free, if that makes sense. Daniel Brennan, I 100% agree with you. Way, way, way more MMOs need to be on Stadia. MMOs are also huge, and it's going to take a lot of work in order to port them. Suave Thunder, holy cow. Thank you very much for supporting the channel at that level. He just sent in an awesome super chat with a question. He says, do you think Stadia would ever have a PS camera equivalent? So I'm trying to remember. It depends on what you mean by that. Do you mean a camera that you just point at you so that people can see you when you're streaming? In which case, I do think that kind of thing will happen. But if you mean like the gimmicky thing that you could do with the PS camera, where they had like there was a game, a card game of some kind, where like you had a board that you would put out in front of you, and you would put cards, like physical cards, on the board, and the camera would look at that and it would do things in the video game, like that kind of gimmicky thing. I don't think that Stadia would ever do anything like that. But the idea of being able to have a camera that maybe you could put on your TV and become a streamer with that camera, I think that that's a possibility. I wouldn't expect that to happen soon, though, if that makes sense. What do all of you guys think? Do you think that that's a high priority for Stadia? I think it's a very low priority for Stadia, having a specific camera that you would hook up. However, I think it's a high priority for them to allow you to use like your camera on your Chromebook or something like that in order to stream. What do you guys think? Thank you very much, Swap Thunder, for supporting the channel at that level. That's the wrong button. Will Stadia get Roblox? A lot of kids are into that game. I think it'd help expand the user base a lot. I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about Roblox. I know my son plays it. I know that it's extremely popular. It also doesn't require very hefty hardware. So, I mean, my guess is that would that really expand the player base by much? I don't know. Katie says, didn't Stadia partner with OBS? They did. Yeah, they are jumping in with OBS to try and work something out. I don't know what they're doing, but I think so. I mean, MK Gaming, you say better, is different. It's definitely different. It's not as accessible, I don't think. That's the thing about it, MK Gaming, is that Creta, while awesome, and I can see it as being huge, it's just not accessible enough yet. Will Stadia get a search bar? God, I wish. Isn't Roblox owned by Microsoft? No, that's Minecraft. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know who owns Roblox. But Minecraft is owned by Microsoft. Yeah, Crate is free on the store. You can get it right now if you haven't played it yet. Old and lame. Is that me talking? They said, do you think we will ever get VR? You have something in VR. I do think we'll get VR. I don't think it'll be soon. I think it'll be a ways down the road, and internet speeds are going to have to be much higher and much more reliable before we get VR, because you can't have any latency. If you have latency, people are just going to throw up. Stadia needs a library to put the games you don't play no more. You don't play anymore. Grammar is important. But I 100% agree. Like, there's a bunch of games that I'm not interested in playing. I want to put those in an archive folder that I'm not interested in. And I also want to have a favorites folder where I can put the games that I'm playing like right now. Yograin says, I don't really think it fits in Stadia because it would be hard to import assets and the like. I don't think that that's true. You can build your own stuff in Creta. You can build your own stuff in Roblox, I'm sure. The advantage that Roblox has is that it's been around for years and years and years. Crate is brand new. Oh yeah, James Webb. We've talked about that on the show a million times. Not everybody has an internet connection that would support Stadia. And that's the thing that a lot of people forget. By the way, everybody, I don't know if you guys are aware. Paste. If you have ideas for a future Nerd Nest Live, used to be called Open Mics. If you have ideas for a future Nerd Nest Live, you can click on that form that I just pasted in the chat. You could submit them, and maybe it'll be featured on a future episode. We are finishing up here. This is our last minute of the show. I just want to say thank you to everybody who came to hang out with me, as well as Suave Thunder for their super chat. I really do appreciate it. I also want to say thank you to where is it here? We got Ryan Hudson, we got Mr. Positive, or I'm sorry, Matt Snell, and Jason Brown. Thank you guys for submitting your questions to Nerd Nest Live. I appreciate the support and giving me things to talk about here on the show. If you like the music that you're listening to, make sure you check out Harris Heller or Stream Beats, because all of the music that you heard today is from that, and it's all perfectly free, which you guys can all listen to. All right, I'm out of here. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks again. Bye-bye.